Ladies and gentlemen, what is up and welcome to today's video where we're going to be going over the early leaked abilities for Hela and also the Ragnarok version of Thor that are going to be coming to Marvel Contest of Champions next month. So these abilities, they were data mined by JJW from the Unofficial MCOC podcast, and he data mined all the abilities last month for Mephisto, Blade, and Morningstar, and pretty much when it came to the release, they were all very accurate. There are a few things that changed around, a few things that were added, and that's something to kind of keep in mind with this video as stuff can change. Like for example, an ability that was on Blade last month, which is kind of like an intercept counter, now seems to be moved over to Gladiator 4 or Thor Ragnarok or whatever his name turns out to be in the end. So yeah, stuff can change around a little bit, but this gives us kind of a rough idea exactly how good Hela and Thor Ragnarok are going to be, and kind of my initial predictions. It's so much based off the value this month. These don't really seem like high utility champions, but they both, if they have enough meat in kind of their fury and armor break and shock abilities, they could be really great damage output champions. But I think out of the two, just kind of my early prediction at the moment is that Thor Ragnarok is going to be the significantly better character. However, Hela looks a very interesting character, so we'll dive into a little bit about what Hela does. So essentially, Hela has a fury stacking mechanic. I kind of read over Hela and I was like, this is what happens if maybe they tried to make Kamala Khan a viable champion. So yeah, Hela controls the spirits of the dead, using them to power her fury buffs. So as long as she has spirits of the dead, all her fury buffs have infinite duration. So each fury buff active on her drains her spirits over time, but each strike of her summoned swords empowers them. If her spirits are exhausted, her fury buffs begin to expire one at a time. So it looks like you can get to like there's like maybe a sweet spot with the fury buffs where you can keep that up if you're playing at a very aggressive tempo and have some really high damage, and you can get the fury buffs from charging a heavy attack. So yeah, I'm not too sure how that's going to be. Then there are a couple of abilities here which aren't really fully formed, but this one is after taking more than a percentage of her base health and damage from a single strike, Hela gains a buff granting physical resistance that lasts until she is struck by a heavy attack. So that's going to be something that you maybe need to play around if it's quite a significant buff when you're fighting her. And I don't know, I kind of like that idea in non-stun immune matchups. Of having that mechanic, like, you know, the opponent has some sort of armor and you need to penetrate it with a heavy attack. That's a pretty cool mechanic, but we'll see how that actually turns out to be in practicality. And then there's also another one, which doesn't really make too much sense. It just says this attack does not stack. Instead of triggered multiple times, its effect increases by 1. So I'm not really too sure what that is, but that's associated with something. So on her special 1, she has a percentage chance to trigger a fury buff. Also, all the values kind of in these squiggly brackets, if you're not familiar with these type of videos, they're all kind of values that haven't yet been determined within the game. So we don't know the percentage chance, we don't know the number, all we know is the special 1 triggers some sort of fury. Special attack 2 places an armor break on the opponent, reducing their armor for each fury currently active, lasting for 2 seconds. So that could be potentially a really good combo there. We've seen, you know, with champions like Medusa, that the combination of armor breaks and furies can get pretty bonkers at some point. So I'm interested to see exactly how well that's going to come off. And then finally on the special attack 3, we have a bit of an interesting thing here. So this attack deals bonus physical damage up to a certain percentage of the target's missing health, based on the number of fury buffs active on Hela, but it has a max damage. So I'm interested to see exactly, you know, how much damage that could be, and if it's going to be very useful for, you know, rinsing down stuff like Realm of Legends or Labyrinth of Legends. Like, I'm curious. I think because it's got max damage, it probably won't have that. But hey, I don't know. It might be alright. And then we have the signature ability here. So, at the start of the fight, for each champion on Hela's team that is knocked out, it grants her 1 spirit. And spirits, I believe, are just stuff that she's going to get from her regular attacks. And that, you know, the more spirits that she has, the slower her furies are going to drain, or you need the spirits to kind of keep the furies up. So that seems quite good for getting into some big damage right at the start of the fight. And also, the first time Hela will be knocked out in each fight, she gains an indestructible buff that lasts for a certain amount of seconds. So little bit like Phoenix. But I think this will be really, really good if she's a super viable damage champion, especially when it comes to like those life transfer challenges. Because if you've played a champion like Punisher on the Web Slinger challenge, which I love playing the freestyle there, if his signature ability procced, then you'd have like 10-second. If it's a 10-second immunity like Punisher has, that is going to be so good. But I'm interested to see how much it is, because again, there's 2 that isn't the actual number. It's a placeholder. So yeah, I'm interested to find out, you know, exactly how long that indestructible is going to be. If it's like anything over 5 seconds, hey, it's going to be pretty good. But it doesn't seem like Hela is going to need to be awakened to be a super good champion, but it seems like she gains a decent amount of benefit from it. And then her synergies with Dormammu and Mephisto, she will begin the fight with 1 bar of power, increases Dormammu's regeneration off his imbued dimensional link. That isn't very good at the moment, so yeah, it's going to have to be quite a big chunk to make it something useful. And then also we have Mephisto, which regains the first soul spent to trigger his soul imprisonment each fight, and that might actually be quite useful synergy there. So yeah, like those ones seem interesting, especially with the Fury mechanic as well. Maybe beginning the fight with 1 bar of power is going to make it a huge impact if you can get a lot of Fury off the special one. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that one turns out. And then we also have the one with Loki, or Thor Ragnarok. So nullify effects against Hela have a reduced % chance to trigger. Doesn't really seem that helpful. Maybe, might be, if she's an insane defender for whatever reason, maybe might be a little bit helpful, but yeah, I don't see that being super great. So this one is very interesting. A lot of people are talking about the Loki one. So while they are cursed, while your opponent is cursed from the special 3, Loki always counts as having more health than his opponent. So this is really valuable when it comes to the Special 2, because the Special 2 takes off a certain percentage of health if you have more health than the opponent. So I'm very interested to see if this is going to be able to bypass stuff in, like, you know, Realm of Legends and Labyrinth of Legends to take off a really big chunk there. And you can reapply the curse with Loki via the heavy attack or special 1. So because in Labyrinth of Legends you got the whole parry thing, and if you want to get to the special 2, you're going to probably have to apply with a heavy attack. I don't know if you'll be able to pull it off in Labyrinth of Legends, but maybe when it comes to the actual standard Realm of Legends, maybe this is going to be Loki a pretty insane champion for that. But I'm very interested to see you know, if that's going to be a strategy that comes up. And also, while we're on the topic of making crap champions viable of synergy, it's super cheap, and Kabam, you gotta stop doing it, man. Just buff Loki, man. Just give Loki this stuff naturally. Don't buff him via new champion synergies. Well, buff him additionally via them, but you know, Loki is a champion that needs this kind of love just on his character. So yeah, while I'm happy to see something like that interesting, I would much prefer if it was just on Loki to begin with. And then we have Thor Ragnarok, which gains 100% perfect auto block chance. Perfect block chance when auto blocking. And we'll talk about how that's done potentially a little bit later. And then there's also another synergy that is similar to the Dormammu one with Hood, which champions have a % chance to instantly regain a percentage of their health just before they're knocked out, and this chance increases for each champion on the team that is currently knocked out. So I don't know, the second line of that might make it a little bit more useful than that Hood and Dormammu one, which doesn't really see any useful gameplay at the moment. So I'm interested to see if that's actually going to have a use in the game, or if it's going to be viable to kind of rely on for certain champions. Because if you could get that on Hulk, that'd be pretty good. And then we have the champion bio for Thor Ragnarok and the abilities, so let's get stuck into this. So whenever an attack inflicts a stun, Thor's going to have something that deals an additional % of his attack as damage. As physical damage if the opponent is suffering from an armor break. So that's a little bit of an interesting one. This synergizes Thor Ragnarok so badly relies on being awakened. Like, it looks like he's very similar to the original Thor, where if you don't have him awakened, he's going to be fairly meh, but then if you have him awakened, he's going to be insane. And we'll talk about what his awakened ability does in a bit. So Thor has a percentage chance to use his shield to auto block any attacks while he is dashing toward the opponent. And this can trigger the parry mastery. So essentially this means that Thor is gonna, when Thor is charging, that you don't want to intercept into him. So I'd kind of think fighting Thor very similar to fighting a Rhino, in the case of you just want to bait out the special attacks. Hopefully the special attacks are fairly easy to evade, but yeah, if you do kind of go in and try and intercept him, then yeah, you could potentially get parried in a PvP scenario, and then you could get absolutely wrecked. So that's something you need to be initially aware of when it comes to Thor Ragnarok. And also, apparently, when opponents intercept Thor's dash, he gains some sort of power buff, which will fill to his max power over a certain amount of seconds, but you can interrupt this if Thor gets knocked down by a special attack. So yeah, bit of an interesting one there. Seems like an additional punishment for trying to intercept the God of Thunder there. So you just gotta make sure, just initially by the look of it, that you do not try and intercept him and fight him like Rhino. Like, you know, if you try to intercept the Rhino, unblockable charge, and he's just gonna unstoppable charge, should I say, and just gonna absolutely wreck you. So yeah, just something you need to keep a little bit of an eye out for. And then also with a special attack 1, he has a % chance to stun for a certain amount of seconds, plus an additional % chance if a combo of 40 or more hits is maintained. Apparently there's nothing on the special 2 at the moment. I think there's just like maybe a lack of information or something's missing off that. So yeah, we don't have any abilities from the special attack 2, but I imagine it does, will do some sort of thing. So yeah, we're gonna have to see on that one. Now the special attack 3 is God of Thunder, which will shock the opponent, dealing energy damage over a certain amount of seconds, and the special attack can only inflict up to a maximum of the opponent's maximum percentage of the opponent's health as damage. So yeah, those are all Thor's abilities unawakened. So yeah, nothing seems too impressive. And then you get to his awakened ability, and you're like, fucking A, this is where the party's at, lads. So after a special 3, Thor is apparently able to control lightning with his body for a certain amount of seconds. So Thor has a % chance to inflict shock whenever making physical contact with opponents, dealing a certain amount of energy damage over 5 seconds. Also will break the opponent's armor, applying an armor rating reduction for 2 seconds. Inflicting shock has a % chance to cause stun and also armor break as well. And as we know from, what is it, the initial ability that we read out on Thor, whenever you inflict stun and they've got an armor break, that's going to deal an additional huge chunk of damage there. And also each stack of shock will reduce the opponent's ability accuracy by a certain %. So yeah, it just looks honestly like this champion is absolutely going to reign supreme. You're going to have shocks flying off, armor breaks, loads of stuns, loads of additional burst damage from that stuns with one of his basic abilities. So I think Thor is going to very much rely on the longer fights, because he's going to need to get to his special 3, but I think if you can get to that special 3, then he's just going to be absolutely insane. I reckon they're really going to beef up the damage numbers on this guy and make him a really, really hard-hitting juggernaut of a champion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing kind of the power that Thor Ragnarok has when he's awakened, but kind of that's my initial prediction. It's Thor Ragnarok, he's going to be very meh unawakened, but then when you awaken him, he is going to be pretty friggin' insane. So yeah, then we have the synergies, which are also equally exciting as well. So friends from work, with Hulk has additional attack when Thunder God's Wrath is active, so that's his awakened ability, so even more damage there. And Hulk will become indestructible for 5 seconds when below 20% health. So yeah, that is friggin' insane with the Hulk there. That is honestly one of the best synergies in the entire game. So yeah, I really hope that comes to fruition, and I really hope that's in the game, because, you know, if you can get to, like, oh gosh, below that and you're indestructible, you're just going to be able to go absolutely ham on Hulk and have some really good comebacks there. So I'm super excited to see that synergy come into the game. And then we have the synergy with Loki. So we have the one with Thor Ragnarok, which is a % chance to activate a combo shield for 5 seconds when struck. Doesn't really seem that useful, but the Loki one generates power from his awakened ability as long as Loki is below 2 bars of power. So yeah, along with the Hela synergy, this might make Loki a pretty badass champion. But I'm, I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant to judge yet, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interesting testing to do once these characters come out and we can see the synergy with Loki. And then the final one is with Hela. So Thor Ragnarok regenerates a percentage of his maximum health when killing opponents. And Hela grants, gives her a certain amount of Spirit of the Dead charges at the start of the fight. So it looks like it's actually got a really, really good pairing with Hela there, because that regen whenever you kill an opponent seems super, super useful there. So yeah, it looks like Thor is just going to be a bit of a beast. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do via the synergies, and I'm very interested to see, you know, how frequent these stuns are going to be, how long they're going to be, how strong the ability accuracy is going to be, how much the damage is going to be, what's on the special too. I think there are still so many questions to ask when it comes to both of these characters. But initially, both of them seem quite exciting. I'm a little bit more excited again for Thor Ragnarok than I am for Hela. But Hela, you know, seems like she might have potential if the Fury and Armor Break are stacked up enough. Again, a massive shout out to JJW from the Unofficial MCOC podcast for getting this information together. Really, really appreciate all the work that you've done this month and the previous month. It's certainly been a really awesome early look at some of these new characters. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, which are you excited for, either Thor or Hela? Which one do you think is going to be the better character? Let me know in the comments below. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.